Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here is going to be my Season 4 patch 10.2.6 Faded Affliction Warlock DPS guide. In it, we're going to be covering talents and single target, AOE rotations and single target, AOE tier sets, and basically anything you might want to know about Affliction Warlock heading into S4 Faded and all of that. Now, like always, any weak auras or add-ons see in the video, links to my Twitch and Discord down below are over free for you guys if you want them. And yeah, let's jump right on into it. When it comes to your tier set for Warlock in Season 4, the one we're playing in Season 3, it's based around Soul Rot, is the one that we're playing in S4 as well. For those that aren't familiar with it, it is this bonus right here, or I guess we can just do this being right here. Your 2-piece says Soul Rot deals 15% increased damage and lasts an additional 4 seconds. Now the 4-piece says Soul Rot grants Umbra Fire Kindling, which increases the damage of your next Rapture by 50%, or your next Seed by 60%. Additionally, Umbra Fire Kindling causes Malefic Rapture to extend the duration of your damage time effects, like dots, by 2 seconds for each of the 3 kindlings. So it's 6-second increase to their duration, which you rapture 3 times. It's good quality of life, longer dot extension. If you played in Shadowlands and Sepulchre, it's sort of similar to that bonus, how it extended dots a bit. It's a large increase to your rapture damage whenever you cast your Soul Rot, or whenever you seed as well, which is going to be every half a minute, because spoilers ahead for talents, we're going to be playing Soldier's Gluttony, and every single build here giving you half a minute Soul Rot versus the actual minute Soul Rot that we had, you know, sort of, I guess in a sense, previously. The 2-piece is okay, but a lot of the power just honestly lies behind the 4-piece, giving you those big raptures, the dot extension increase, all that kind of stuff. So, while getting your 2-piece is obviously worthwhile on the way to your 4-piece, 4-piece is where it really comes together and meshes and makes the spec flow the way it's flowing in S3 and just, you know, feel complete. Now, when it comes to secondary stats and things of the sort, like trinkets for Affliction Warlock in Season 4, I would highly encourage you to run your own sims on raidbots.com. In the end, my character will vary from yours. I might have a crit first belt on. You might have a haste master belt on, and that will skew your secondary stats and what you want to play, gem-wise, enchant-wise, so on and so forth. Now, I'm playing different gear here for different spec, but overall, if you don't want to run sims, which I highly encourage, you can follow the priority of haste, mastery. Crit is then basically equal to verse, give or take, depending on your gearing and things. Now, we are indeed still playing 9U as our 2-minute trinket of choice in S4, as well as likely Baloros in most settings, which are both damage-based trinkets. One is stat-based and damage-based, but either way, the versatility does directly increase the value of 9U and Baloros, the damage that it does. Crit Strike is often just relevant in general. We're not playing this. We are indeed playing another on-use staff in the 9U staff as well, which also has a damage effect on it. So crit is basically equal to verse. I've seen them trade back and forth in my own sims individually, but once again, I would highly encourage you to run your own sims, patchwork sims and single target, 10 target sims for about half a minute or so if you want to sim AOE Mythic Plus, to get the best idea for your own gearing, because once again, your gear will vary from mine. If you don't want to do that, you can go haste, then mastery, then crit is equal to verse, and go from there. Taking a look at talents for Affliction Warlock in S4, we're going to hit on 3 builds here, being a single target build, a single target Cleave-esque kind of build, and a Mythic Plus build. Now, there are some nuances and change, subtle little things that might change in every build here at the bottom, which we'll get to in a second here. But overall, Affliction is very customizable for different settings. It can be built for a single target, mass AOE, or a single target-esque kind of like Cleave profile. So we're going to hit on all 3 here. The first build here being single target. Obviously, you're playing Siphon Life. You're playing it everywhere. Spoilers ahead. Vile Taint over Singularity. Vile Taint's played everywhere as well. Playing Sacrifice, other things, you know, like Pandemic Invocation, Shadow's Embrace, obviously. You're playing Dread Touch here. Now, your choice between Dread Touch or Doom Blossom is pretty simple when it comes to single target. This is mass AoE, and this is single target. Outside of that, you're playing Crescendo here for a chance to get free Raptures, which gives you an easier time maintaining Dread Touch, because it's active whenever you Rapture. On top of that, you also have just the extra damage that it brings whenever it procs. You're playing Haunt here, playing Dark Glare, playing Soul Rot, and playing 2 points in Soul Eater's Gluttony. Now, there are certain fights at certain times where you will play a build that might not play Dark Glare, and you want to play things like Dark Harvest. Igira comes to mind in Aberrus, no, the last raid, Mirdasil, where you want that spear cleave every so often when you get through Soul Rot and Gluttony, and at times Dark Harvest. So at times you will see builds shifting to this instead of this, and vice versa, because a couple things here and there, but overall, this is the most widely accepted single target version of Affliction without really any kind of, like, you know, niche Cleave elements added into it. Now, if you're looking for more of a single target cleave hybrid build, this build here will do just that. So you're moving points out of virtuosity and such, 2 points out of here into seed, and so you're playing 2 points in soul flame here as well. And besides that, everything else down here is basically the same. You're still playing sacrifice, you're still playing siphon life, still playing vile taint, creeping death into Xavius' Gambit, into dread touch, crescendo, haunt, dark glare, soul rot, gluttony, and dark harvest. Now once again, there are some builds that pull a point out of dark glare and just put it into dark harvest here. You can get consistent AoE basically, or I guess, soul rot, or AoE, whatever you call it, multi-target based cleave when you cast soul rot, like Igira, times like Gnarroot and things like that, which you can benefit from via dark harvest. Either way, this build at its core offers more cleave with seed and with sow, if you want that mass AoE profile with soul flame, comparatively to the single target build that does not play either of these and plays soul flame over that. Now, if you're looking for an M+ build, this is what I would recommend. Now, like the other builds here, there's some nuances and changes in the final row we can play from time to time here. I would recommend starting with a build like this. So you're playing seed, playing sow to spread seed, or to spread corruption, then to spam sow and mass AoE, playing siphon life still. Now, for a while, we played AC in older expansions because of how, it would work in plus. You put up a seed, it'd be permanent corruptions, you have a good time. Siphon life's interaction with Rapture, giving you more damage per dot active, means that, hey, unfortunately, you might not be rapturing in AoE, but you're rapturing in single target and 2 target and things like that, and having 1 or 2 extra dots rolling via Siphon Life makes it worthwhile. At the same time, you're spamming Seed a bunch too anyways, so corruption is basically permanent, but regardless, you are playing Siphon Life here for bosses, prior mobs, all that, over absolute corruption. Playing Vile Taint to spread agonies on multiple targets whenever you cast it, and in general, it's worth casting in single target too. Playing Sacrifice still, 2 points in Soul Flame for whenever a mob dies, it explodes and does damage. And outside of that, you're playing points in Creeping Death, Xavius' Gambit, Doom Blossom over Dread Touch, which we'll come back to in a minute here. Crescendo, typically no Haunt, Dark Glare, and then you have Soul Rot, Soul Eater's Gluttony, and Dark Harvest for that mass AoE profile every half a minute via your Soul Rot cast. Now, coming back over here, so there are different builds you can play, or I guess different configuration you can play here, right? Doom Blossom, basically, you can read what it says here, but it's basically, if you have a UA active, an Unstable Affliction active, and you're casting Seed, it does even more damage. It'll show Seed of Corruption and then Doom Blossom in your breakdown, but it just makes Seed of Corruption do even more damage, as long as you have an Unstable Affliction active. Very, very strong in mass AoE when you have things like Soul Rot every half a minute, giving you Dark Harvest, things like your tier bonus, increasing Seed damage. It's very, very strong in mass AoE. The problem, though, is that you're not taking Dread Touch, which is a large portion of your single target damage, a 30% increase to your dots for 8 seconds whenever you rapture. You can see how important this is, right? Now, when it comes to Mythic Plus, on the higher end, when you want that single target profile and things, even in 4 to 5 weeks, I've seen a lot of builds playing Dread Touch over Doom Blossom. Doom Blossom's good in AoE. You can play both. If you just want to AoE and say, hey, whatever, I don't care about Dread Touch, it's fine. A build like this will still indeed do very good AoE. With Seed, with Sow, you still have Soul Flame, you have Vile Taint, all have to apply here, Dark Harvest, Soul Rot. It will still do very good AoE while having good single target. You have Dread Touch, well, acceptable single target. Is Demo and Destro better? Roughly give or take, yes, but I mean, there's that. If you want mass AoE, play Doom Blossom. Keep in mind, if you do, your single target's going to be lackluster. If you play Dread Touch, it'll be better in single target. Not as good AoE, but still not as great as like playing full on, full on like just it's not because like Demo or Destro essentially in a sense, right? Now, I'm not saying that AF is worse than those specs overall. It is, I guess, essentially, but at the same time, if you play AF is not in a bad enough spot where you shouldn't play it in plus. The fact of the matter is that Demonology and Destruction are just really good. Destro is very close to being meta, if not meta, in S4, and Demonology is also a very good Mythic Plus. Definitely underplayed, undervalued, and underrepresented. When 2 of your 3 specs are meta or close to being meta, the third one that's not as good often gets looked at poorer than it actually is. AF is still fine, but its main issue in plus lies here with Doom Blossom versus Dread Touch. So as far as that's concerned, it's up to you. But I have links to all these builds down below if you want them. And yeah, feel free to import them. So when it comes to Affliction's opener in single target in Season 4, there's a new opener that was discovered sort of in the middle of 10.2, which, well, changes your opener a little bit. But due to the way your tier set functions with Rapture, increasing the duration of your dots, by your 4 pieces in general, this opener actually makes a bit of sense, and it works pretty well. Feels good to play with, and it's very simple too, honestly, once you get the hang of it. So let's say we're heading into a pack here, or heading into a boss roughly. We're going to precast a Haunt into essentially a precast Vile Taint while Haunt is traveling to the boss before the boss is pulled. So we're going to precast a Haunt here, do a precast Vile Taint. Going to go Soul Rot into an Unstable Affliction, Corruption, Siphon Life, Malefic Rapture, and then Dark Glare. At this point, drain for Shadow's Embrace. 1, 2, 3 stacks. Pop your 9 Trinket if you have it, or Trinkets in general if you have it here. And then spam Rapture. Dot increase, dot increase, dot increase. Duration-wise, keep spamming. There. I'll save like 1 shard just for Dread Touch maintenance here. We can do it there. We got a proc, Refresh Corruption, Agony, Siphon Life. And honestly, that's the gist of it. We have Soul Rot and Vile Taint up again. We're going to cast both here. Bang, bang, just like that. I'm going to Rapture a couple times. Rapture. Keeping in mind, once again, you want to maintain at least like a shard or a proc crescendo for your Dread Touch uptime, right? Cast my Haunt here. And also, if whenever you pop your Trinket there, potions are the same thing. Pop them all, ratios all at that point. If you're playing a thing like Baloros, a Trinket, like a Baloros and Naimu, you can just go basically in the melee and pop it on cooldown, essentially, after your 9U's been cast with your Dark Glare, obviously. Besides that, this is the gist of it. Once again, we have Vile Taint and Soul Rot here. I'm going to cast both. I'm going to Rapture, Refresh Dread Touch, Rapture again, Rapture again, Rapture again. We got a refund there, Rapture again. I'm going to Drain here. And this is basically it. You literally have these smaller Vile Taint, Soul Rot windows once every pretty much like half a minute, because they're half a minute cooldown, and then every 2 minutes you have a larger cooldown window with your Dark Glare being paired with Vile Taint and with Soul Rot. Now the big thing here is Dread Touch maintenance, right? You want to be able to play around having Dread Touch active as much as often, or as high as possible, right? So we're going to Vile Taint and Soul Rot here. It's important to keep in mind how many shards you have and how close you are to hitting your next, Vile Taint Soul Rot window, because you don't want to basically overspend, go into that window with no shards, and have your Dread Touch fall, be in an awkward spot overall, right? So we're going to spend some here. I'm going to start pulling from the next window here a little bit too. Even though it is still active, we have Dark Glare in 10, and these in about 15 seconds, give or take. I'm going to Rapture once to refresh Dread Touch. I'm going to Drain here. Rapture again right about now. Spend that proc. Refresh Agony. Refresh Corruption. Drain my Nightfall proc here. Refresh my UA a little early and my Siphon, because why not? I'm going to go Vile Taint, Soul Rot. I'm going to cast my Dark Glare and begin Rapturing for Dread Touch. If it fell for whatever reason, cast your Trinket, and then just cast your Raptures again. And once again, if you're playing Baloros or whatever, you can just run into melee and pop it pretty much in 10 seconds here, whenever it's off cooldown for you, whatever works best for you and your damage profile. But that's pretty much it. Honestly, you're maintaining Dread Touch, catching dots before they fall in their pandemic window, and that's basically the gist of AF in single target. It isn't that complicated. The initial opener is a little different, but honestly, it's still pretty simple. And the AOE is as well. So let's take a look at the AOE rotation. Now, when it comes to Afflictions, AOE opener, cooldowns, all that Mythic Plus, or any kind of AOE setting, it's a very simple opener, not too complicated. And we're playing this build we talked about a minute ago right here. We're playing Doom Blossom over Dread Touch. If you want to play Dread Touch, that's fine. Whatever you want, whatever your build you prefer, do it to it. We are playing Doom Blossom here for mass AOE with Dark Harvest, Soul Rot, and Crescendo. Now, if I was playing Haunt for whatever reason, Mythic Plus, I would precast Haunt on the mob, like the prior mob in the pack, when the tank's gathering it all up, a higher health mob, whatever what have you, but I'm not playing it here. So let's say the tank's running into the pack, right? This is the mob that I want as priority. Sure, whatever. I'm going to cast, or I guess precast or cast Unstable Affliction on this mob, then just go straight up into Seed of Corruption, into a Vile Taint, into a Soul Rot, and pop my Trinkets potions with Dark Glare. I'm going to channel my Naimi here, for example, and I'm going to start spamming. Seed. I'm going to Seed. I'm going to Seed. I'm going to Seed. Seed again. Seed again. I'm going to drain this Nightfall proc away. There's that. I'm going to drain it again. We got a TC proc there, a Crescendo proc, because we're playing that talent in this build, right? So we're going to cast that. Now, as far as Affliction's concerned, you have to catch your Agonies, which is actually one I'm going to drop here, between every Vile Taint cast, based on the current duration, or I guess cooldown of Vile Taint, being half a minute, and Agony not lasting that long. Once they're back up, you can straight up just cast it again. We go right into a Vile Taint and a Soul Rot window. Cast Seeds. Cast Seed. Going to cast this Rapture here. Cast Seed if I have more shards. Refresh my UA. Cast Seed. Drain. And honestly, that's basically it. You're watching your Agonies here, which enter Pandemic right about now for me. Gonna refresh them again here. Here. here, and here. I'm going to catch my UA whenever it enters Pandemic again in a minute here. And you can see, once again, I have Vital Taint and Soul Rot coming up now. So I'll cast them now. Obviously, Corruption's falling. I'm not casting Seed anymore, but like if I were still in combat here, that's what you'd be doing, right? Casting Seed, basically as your main spender for AoE, keeps it as a permanent effect, essentially, right? Because you're just refreshing it constantly. Now, you don't need to have, like, you're not going to have Dark Lair every pack, obviously. But the cool thing is that with half a minute being the cooldown of Soul Rot and Vital Taint, you might not have Dark Lair for the next pack, but you can still go in all the same and just put up your UA, put up your Corruption via Seed, and just go Vital Taint, Soul Rot, and just begin spamming Seedian. It's very simple, not complicated at all. And that's pretty much that. I'm not applying Siphon Life here, even though we are talented into it, because honestly, like, sort of whatever. If there's like a high health prio mob you really want to put it on, you can. But honestly, like, at the end of the world, but that's it. Seed's a large portion of your damage. Agony is a lot too, if you maintain it properly, all that, and that's the gist of it. Not too hard. Just don't let your dots fall. Spam Seed. If you get a procs from Crescendo while you're doing it, throw them in there, because they are free, and in the end, Rapture does damage in AoE. Not as much as Seed, but it still does damage. Thanks for watching, guys. That wraps it up, and hopefully answer any questions you might have about Affliction Warlock heading into S4 Faded, M+, and all of that for the remainder of, well, honestly, Dragonflight. Now, like I said, I mean, Affliction is fine when it comes to M+, right? Demonology and Destro is better. But if you want to play Aff, you can play it. It's not like it's terrible. Just Demo and Destro are basically meta or very close to being meta. When you have 2 or 3 specs being meta, I mean, it's often overshadowed, right? Aff has very, very strong AoE, but it's pretty lackluster in single target playing the AoE build. If you try to play more of a single target build and plus, it becomes lackluster in AoE, and you sort of see where it goes. Now, Blizzard has mentioned in Warwithin, they're looking to address these issues. They've said it word for word. The single target AoE profiles don't basically mesh very well, and they want to address that issue. So, fingers crossed, we will see where it goes. At the same time, Week Wars add-ons, like always, links to Twitch and Discord down below if you want them. They're all for free for you guys. Before I end the video, I want to give one massive shout out to my patrons for all supporting on Patreon. Like always, thank you a million times, guys. I really appreciate it, man. If you're looking at supporting on Patreon, should be a link up here as well as down below in the video description. But yeah, I appreciate the support, guys. Thank you so much. Legitimately, thank you. Yeah, any talent builds you wanted as well, also down below in the description, and I think pinned in the comments if I remember. But I'm old and my mind is going. So, all that being said, this might even be out S4 at this point when this guy releases, but we are literally in S4 and the early parts of Warwithin Alpha. A lot of content coming out for both Alpha and S4 simultaneously on the channel. So if you want to see any more of that, hit the sub button below. When you're down there, hit the like button. It helps out a ton. We're going to have a lot of vids coming out over the next weeks and months, and before we know it, man, I'm thinking August is going to be the expansion release. I could be wrong. Late August, September, maybe. It's going to be a really, really fast next few months. It's already almost May this year. I don't know where life is going, but hopefully somewhere good. All that being said, thanks for watching, guys. I don't know where I'm going with that. Thanks for watching, y'all, and I'll catch you all again soon on stream. Peace.